This meeting is being recorded.
All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you, Svetlana, for the invitation. My name is Lori Fernald Kamala, and I am the program director at Code the Dream. And I look forward to sharing with you today about our program. So Code the Dream is a tech nonprofit. We're based here in North Carolina, but we work nationwide. We provide a pathway to a career in tech for people who are underrepresented in the field. That includes people of color, immigrants and refugees, including undocumented immigrants, women, and people from low-income communities. Right now, we have many Ukrainians and Russians in our program, and we are all keeping those communities in our hearts during this really, really difficult, challenging time. Just a quick overview of Code the Dream, and what I'll be going through today. What is Code the Dream? Talking about what makes our model so unique, and talking about some of the technology that we create, and then going into a little bit more detail on our classes. So just a very short overview, Code the Dream offers training in software development in a part-time boot camp space, a coding boot camp that is in our program is completely free, and it's very flexible for people who also work and have family responsibilities. After the classes, students have the opportunity to apply for a paid apprenticeship with Code the Dream Labs, which I'll talk more about. That's our in-house software development shop. And within that space, we build apps that serve the community for a wide variety of nonprofit, government, and small business clients. And then after finishing our program, our graduates go on to launch their own tech careers, becoming software developers in places like Google, Amazon, Airbnb, and as well as local places like Duke, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Paylocity, Tango, Thoughtbot, the North Carolina General Assembly, where I believe one of the members of this group works, and many other places. So I will go through this presentation and then just open it up for questions. Yes, like Svetlana mentioned in the chat, feel free to type questions in the chat, and we'll also just open it up for informal discussion afterwards. So Code the Dream, our mission statement is Code the Dream creates opportunity that changes lives, builds technology that benefits our communities, and supports the diversity that drives a more just and innovative world. And so I'll break down each of those pieces a little bit. This just sort of describes again our model. The three components are creating opportunity for our students, building tech that impacts our communities, and supporting the diversity that drives innovation. And we carry out our model with two primary programs. One is our Code the Dream School, and that's the program in which we provide free intensive classes and web development. And then in Code the Dream Labs, which is where we provide our participants real-world experience with paid internships, creating real apps for real clients. So we say we are opportunity that changes lives. So following our free classes and our paid apprenticeship program, really it's over 90% of our apprentices go on to launch successful careers in tech. Actually, it's almost 100%. The few people who have not ended up going into a tech career are actually still sort of tech adjacent and doing some other things. And I mentioned some of this, but some of the companies where our alumni currently work are the ones that you see here on the screen, and I mentioned it earlier. And most of our, following our apprenticeship, folks are getting jobs as junior software engineers. We have front-end web development, back-end web development, and a chance for full stack development as well. So in addition to the opportunity of low-income individuals and people who are underrepresented in the field getting the chance to launch their careers, we also build technology that benefits our communities in Code the Dream Labs. You can see a lot of different the apps that we work on in our portfolio. It's codethedream.org/portfolio. And we partner with organizations and small businesses and government agencies, as I mentioned, to build affordable apps and web technologies. Most of these apps that we build are addressing social issues in some way. Vamos, for example, that you see here, is an app for organizations that serve migrant and seasonal farm workers. And we've partnered with a number of different farm worker serving organizations for some different apps. We also have partnered with arts organizations like the North Carolina Museum of Art. We've done a number of healthcare related projects, and we have also worked with the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence to build out a training platform for healthcare providers that are seeing survivors of domestic abuse. So these are just some of the projects that we work on. And we, of course, support the diversity that drives a more just and innovative world. We really believe that to create a change through tech, we need to see the faces of more people that represent our community in the tech space, to make sure that we are addressing social issues and that everyone has a seat at the table. Let's see, I am going to next go into talking about Code the Dream classes, but if anybody has I just pause right now and see if anybody has a question about our overall model right now. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody wants to unmute and ask anything, that's fine. Okay. What percentage of people are successful in getting software developer jobs without completing the internship? That's an excellent question. We unfortunately have not been great about collecting that data. That's something we're realizing we are needing to start to collect. I will say that as we, over the last couple of years, we've really been putting a lot of attention into improving our class curriculum so that when people come out of our classes, even without taking the apprenticeship, they are much better prepared than they were in the past. And we are seeing people get jobs after taking the classes. We do think that the apprenticeship really provides the best real world experience. It's really helpful for some people who are needing that real world experience before they can get a job. But increasingly, we're seeing more and more people who are coming straight out of our classes who are getting jobs, including, the person who's working at the North Carolina General Assembly. She was not an apprentice, who I believe is a member of this group. She went directly from classes into a position, and we're seeing that happen again and again. So we're starting to collect that data better, but I don't have a number for you right now. Any other questions before moving on? Great, so I'll talk here a little bit about our upcoming classes, our application process, what the requirements are, and then we'll just open it up for questions. So we do have some classes coming up. Applications, this is coming at a really good time because we're about to open our applications. Starting on March 16th, we'll be opening applications. And we have 3 classes coming up: our Intro to Programming class, which starts at the end of May, our Front-End React class, which starts in the beginning of June, and our Back-End Node.js class, which starts in the beginning of June as well. Our intro classes are 16 weeks long, and then the front and back-end classes are 17 weeks long, plus an 8-week practicum that follows that. There are some people who have experience program. We actually work with a lot of refugees who have come to the US and maybe had even a computer science degree in their country of origin, or had software development experience previously, but have not been able to find a job in the US. In those cases, we do have people who are able to directly enter our advanced classes, and in some cases, even directly enter our apprenticeship if they have the right experience and background. So the path, if you don't have any experience, which is also okay, is to go from the intro class then to either the front or back end class, and then you can apply for the apprenticeship if you want. but there are opportunities to go directly. You can apply directly to one of the advanced classes or potentially even to the apprenticeship. So we recommend that we find that while you're not required to have coding experience before you apply for the classes, of course, we recommend that it is helpful to, especially for folks to already have an idea if they like coding. I'll go into detail about our pre-work, but actually the first step is that you apply, basically indicating your interest in the class. The second step is what we call the pre-work, which is actually a pretty intensive JavaScript tutorial. So you can apply for the class without having any previous knowledge. And through that pre-work in the tutorial, you'll actually have a little sample exercise that you'll be learning. So, but we do recommend, you know, if you do want to apply, that at least start off by watching some coding tutorials, checking stuff out a little bit in advance. Okay, so our application process. The window of applications, again, is March 16th through April 10th. We will be holding some live info sessions. I think they're on the website. I don't have those dates at the tip of my tongue, but I think the dates may be on the website. The pre-work, again, that's kind of, there's pre-work if you're entering either the intro class or the advanced classes. And basically for, again, as I mentioned, for the intro class, it's a pretty extensive JavaScript tutorial. And it's fun. It's actually, I don't know if any of you all are familiar with the Khan Academy, maybe for some of your children's classwork, there's some great Khan Academy support and tutorials. But we actually use a Khan Academy free tutorial that's fun to do, and it involves drawing and animation. So you go through that process, and then you're actually going to do a little project at the end and submit to us some code to make sure that your understanding is at the right level to start our classes. And if you apply for our advanced classes, there's a more complicated pre-work that you will be submitting first. For the advanced classes, we often do interviews just to make sure that you are at the right level. So the way this will work is after April 10th is when we would send out the pre-work. You would then have 2 weeks to complete it. And then it takes us a little while to review all of the pre-work, because it's quite a competitive program. As you can imagine, it is free, high level, good quality coding classes. So it is quite competitive. Then we will make the decisions in time, you know, to prepare people for orientation, which is 2 weeks before classes start. You can go to the website, codethedream.org/classes. There's tons of information there. And there's also a place where you can sign up to be notified when the classes open, when the applications open. Okay, so a little bit more about the classes and what some of the requirements are. It is a part-time program, but it is still pretty intense. So we estimate that you will need 15 to 20 hours per week to really devote to studying code. As I mentioned, you saw the duration of the program. It's 16 weeks of intro class, a couple week break, then 17 weeks of advanced class, and then an 8-week practicum. So, you know, it's a long program, but by the time you come out, we think that you'll be, you know, really, really well prepared to go on and look for that great job. But you will need, you know, at least 15 to 20 hours a week. Classes are all in English. So that's, you know, important. Of course, we make sure that you need to make sure that you have access to a reliable computer and internet. A lot of the folks that we work with, as they're coming from very low income, low resource communities, do not necessarily have that. So we're also, you know, if somebody needs that, we're willing to work with you to help find those resources. We do require that people be over 18. And again, some coding experience is helpful, but it's not required. however, for the advanced class, you do need to know some JavaScript, some coding fundamentals, and then already know how to use GitHub and Fetch API. So if you're not sure if you would be qualified for the advanced class, that's something you can, email me and we can talk about that. And of course, just the most important thing is really a desire to be a software developer, and that commitment to learn. Being really self-driven and motivated is really important. Our program is not for people who are just curious about what coding is like, but it's really like, okay, I know I want to be a software developer and I just need someone to help me get there. Okay, I see there's a couple questions about how many people apply and what's the acceptance rate. And yes, the competition for admission and principle of selecting candidates for admission. Sure. So it varies. We had in our last selection process, we had probably like 250 applications for, we ended up selecting more than usual, but we ended up selecting about 50 students for our intro class, which was the biggest intro class we had. So it's about 1 in 5 that will get selected. But, it also, not everybody who applies finishes the entire application program. So that pre-work, the pre-work is mandatory, obviously. So that's a very important part to getting through the application process. In terms of, we will likely be selecting at least 50 people for the next intro class. And as far as the advanced classes, it varies a little bit more because we have people coming directly in from the previous intro classes, in addition to some people applying straight into the advanced classes. In terms of the principles for selecting candidates, I think really seeing that drive and that somebody really wants to be a software developer is very important to us. If somebody is just curious about what it's going to be like, there's tons of programs online to do that, but ours is a really intense focused program where the end result is that you'd get a job as a software developer. Certainly, we really look at what is that coding sample that you submit to us to make sure that we have a very specific rubric that we share, but we make sure, you have to make sure that you've really hit all the marks on those in those areas, and that you're demonstrating that you are understanding how to do the basic things that you've learned through the tutorial. So I don't know, I hope that answers those questions. Let's see. Oh, I guess that's all I had. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'll just keep this one up that has the dates in there. And I will just, open it up for more questions at this point. That's the sort of general information that we share about the classes. And I'll just open it up for any further questions.
So I will just jump in because I know that there were some questions before when I just scheduled this meeting, and I will start, and then please everyone else unmute yourself and just jump in because we're not formal here. And so I'm looking at my notes right now. So the one question was, are the classes in person or virtual?
Excellent question. I'll go ahead and stop sharing right now. Yes, of course, everything is all virtual. Even our apprenticeship is completely remote. So we have kind of fully adapted to this new environment that we find ourselves in. And in fact, Code the Dream had already started our first remote class in October of 2019, so before COVID. And so we were actually relatively well poised to go completely virtual because we had already started experimenting with that. And so now, yes, completely virtual. The structure of our classes, which I didn't really get into, but is sort of related to that, is that we have what you call a flipped classroom model. So there's a number of instructional materials that you will first be following on your own. There's a different lesson every week. And then there's videos to watch, tutorials, and coding assignments that you'll work through on your own. And then twice a week, there are live synchronous sessions that you need to attend that we call mentor sessions. They're with small groups. So we have people all over the country. We're a national program now. And so we have these mentor sessions. There's usually about 10 per week, and you can choose which 2 you want to go to. You sign up for which one you're going to go to. You can try different mentors to see different kind of teaching styles. And that's how we really try to keep it very flexible for people in a number of different time zones. So there's, yes, your asynchronous material that you will be studying sort of independently on your own. Then you'll attend the 2 mentor sessions per week. And then there's kind of constant communication in our Slack channels, which is what we use for class communication.
Oh, that's excellent. Do you turn people away for some reason? What is the what is the criteria? Or you'll say the class is full, we cannot accept anyone.
Yes, we would turn people away only because we don't have capacity, but we are always looking for our program is very volunteer heavy. So as I mentioned, the mentor sessions, they're all volunteers. So we may have, we'll have 3 classes starting, at the end of May, beginning of June. There's already classes going in progress. So part of it is how many, do we have enough volunteers to cover these mentor sessions? These are all professional software developers who are, leading each of these small sessions. And the mentor sessions are at many different times. So you pick the time that works for you. It depends on what the mentor's availability is, but usually, so we have like a Google sheet to sign up. So you'll see, oh, there might be, usually the sessions that are most attended are in the evening, East Coast. But you might have like, oh, a 12 p.m. meeting or a 4 p.m. meeting or a, 7, 8, 9 p.m. For the West Coast folks. Sometimes there's even 9 p.m., 10 p.m. East Coast time. So there's a wide variety of times, some on the weekends as well, but it sort of depends on what the mentor's availability is.
Right. There's a
Do
question from Eugenia. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Do you have some kind of working platform where you need to purchase software? You do not need to purchase any software as long as you have a computer that's in pretty good working order, especially for the intro class. Once you start learning the more advanced materials, and then if you were to go on to become an apprentice, you just need to make sure that your computer is up to a certain standard, but most people can just use a regular computer. Most people who code use Macs. But yes, there are some Windows users and Linux users and different things like that. But yeah, you don't need anything specific, especially for the intro class. You don't need anything at all.
That's great. You mentioned apprenticeship. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So after completing our entire class cycle, which includes the advanced class and then the practicum, which is a group project, an 8-week group project following the advanced classes. After completing that, then our students have the opportunity to apply for the apprenticeship within Code the Dream Lab. So in our in-house software development shop. That is it's an apprenticeship program. So it's still, learning based. It's like a job and then it's 40 hours a week, but it is not, it's still a learning program. So there is a stipend for that. It is a low stipend. It's $2,000 a month. But it is a paid apprenticeship program that lasts about a year. And it's a wonderful opportunity to join our community and get a real world experience. People usually really, really like it. And it's a great opportunity. And the numbers really vary about how many we can take after each class, because a lot depends on our funding. It depends on what projects we have going and where our needs are in terms of, do we need more front end? Do we need more back end? Things like that. So typically we would take maybe 5 to 7 apprentices after each kind of class ends. But it kind of varies.
Can people apply? Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Can people apply like they didn't get into apprenticeship right now? Can they apply a little bit later if there's okay,
definitely,
as long as they finish the classes? And you say stipend, that means you're paying those people?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, yeah, just to make sure that everyone is clear. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So Elena has a question that is very interesting.
Let's see. So self-taught, doing a couple projects mostly in Python, including one simple project using React. apply for the most basic level or start from there? No, I would suggest you apply for, I don't know exactly your level of comfort with React, or if you're interested in learning more of a, sticking with backend and like learning Ruby on Rails, or if you want to like dive into React more, but it may be, I think you would probably be well suited to one of the advanced classes, either Ruby on Rails or the React class. Depending on how advanced you are, you might be sufficiently advanced to join our apprenticeship directly. But we also have an assessment for that, since that requires quite a bit more knowledge of React or Ruby on Rails. And actually, I'm sorry, I forgot, for the June classes, we are going to be starting our Node class. We're not going to be doing Ruby on Rails in June. It's our first time offering Node.js. So we've always offered Ruby on Rails and React.js, but we'll be offering Node for the first time in June, which is a backend.
That's very exciting. For some reason, I got disconnected for just like 2 seconds. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's kind of stretching it a little bit, but I know people were interested. I think I will know your answer, but I just wanted to ask. You said that people find jobs after that. Does the organization offer any help with the resume, or they do?
Well, okay, so
let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So our program is sort of a feeder for our apprenticeship. Within the apprenticeship, after you're in the apprenticeship for 9 months, we require a 9-month commitment, because it's very hard to deal with. We have, real paying clients and real projects. So it's very hard for us to deal with a high turnover. So we need people to commit for at least 9 months. After that 9 months, then we provide much more intense career support. So we are intensely working with you on your resume. We are introducing you to companies. We are, doing a lot of things like that after that 9 months in the apprenticeship. In terms of as a student, we currently do not provide a high level of career support. We do occasionally have, in our apprenticeship, we have weekly workshops on different things. Sometimes it's on career issues, sometimes it's on a technical aspect, but sometimes we will open those up to students, and especially if it's maybe on like, how to design your LinkedIn as a developer, or how to create a great portfolio or something like that. And we will open those up to students to join, but we do not have a intensive program for career support for students.
Okay, fair enough. Just we had to ask,
Absolutely.
You also, when we first talked, and I remember when I first connected with Lisa about that, she said it's about, of course, the main focus is people taking classes and trying to get jobs. But also I was told that it's a great place to volunteer.
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit about volunteering, because it could and what I let me elaborate a little bit on this question. What I heard is that sometimes they're new grads in computer science who looking for a place to volunteer. Maybe there's some high schoolers from students from high school who are very good and they would like to volunteer something and put it on their resume. Sometimes there are people who just want to volunteer their time. So can you tell us about the volunteering program?
Absolutely. And I did not provide a slide on that, but people are welcome to go to codethedream.org/volunteer-opportunities. I'll put it in here. To get more information about that. But yes, I will say it probably would not work out when you mentioned like high school students. Because we are like really mentoring intensively within our program at a very high level of coding, usually people have to be either professional software development professionals, or they would have to be at least having graduated from a boot camp with a pretty high level of proficiency. So, so yeah, I mean, I think we are always looking for mentors in particular, but yeah, we definitely need volunteers, a lot of volunteers, but they do need to be usually professional software developers. We do take other volunteers like to lead workshops, and that can be on creating a great resume. We've had lots of people do workshops on that, or even we have a wonderful volunteer who has led workshops on like working from home and how to have ergonomic equipment, or how to do stretches from home to be good for your body or whatever. So there's workshops like that, but most of our volunteer opportunities are really targeted for higher level software development professionals, if that makes sense.
Okay, no, that makes perfect sense. There's another question in the chat that just popped up.
Okay, what would you recommend to those who cannot commit to the apprenticeship after finishing the program? What would be the next step? Yes, it's a great question, and the apprenticeship is a very big commitment at that some people cannot afford to do because they have obviously financial obligations. We know that it's very low pay, but after finishing the program, we would recommend just really continuing to build out your own portfolio. The practicum, the 8-week team practicum, is one of the ways that we address that, with really helping to provide an experience and a way for people to gain that team group work experience. So that's a very important, that teamwork, because it's completely different coding on your own versus coding on a project with multiple people who are, you're having to work together on that code. So we recommend just continuing to build your own projects. Each class culminates in a final project even before the practicum, but even after you do that group project, continuing to work on your own, building out your own portfolio, we think is the best way, and just to never stop coding, because you gotta keep it up. So that would be our recommendation, is to really continue building out that portfolio. We have occasionally taken part-time apprentices, but it usually does not work out very well because people have other obligations or other jobs, and they're not able to devote the time that's really needed to become successful if they're only part-time.
Okay.
What's next to get experience is needed for entry-level jobs? I mean, it just depends on the job, but yeah, we just recommend building out your portfolio to really have a good base of projects to demonstrate your experience.
Okay.
Take a break during studying. So we estimate that people in classes spend 15 to 20 hours a week. So I guess it depends on all of your other commitments. I hope that you can take a break during studying. Otherwise, it would not be very sustainable. But maybe you mean like a break between classes, or break.
Yeah, I think what Eugenia meant, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eugenia, that I think what she says is that you not like when she's studying, but kind of like a break in the course, like she had to take a break for a week or 2 weeks or.
Okay, well, a break of a week or two is very hard to come back from. The thing about coding is it's like builds on itself. So so you really have to keep up with it. We are relatively flexible in that if something comes up in your life, like we have, of course, right now we have Ukrainian students who are just completely stressed out. And so we actually just had a Ukrainian student who just dropped out of the class, but they know that they are welcome to come back and join the next class, no problem. So we really try to work with people, because people have all kinds of circumstances that come up. So yes, you can come back to and join another class pretty easily. However, if you have finished one class, we recommend that you take the next class soon, because long breaks are not good for retaining that coding. You really have to be doing it all the time.
Has it ever happened that somebody finished the class, but yet they felt like they want to retake it?
Yeah.
And if yes, You're allowing that?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that definitely happens. And we encourage that. It's great because if you're not coding, it's something where you can continue to learn at, and it's a lot, and so we encourage retaking the class because it just reinforces those fundamentals and it'll make you a better developer. In addition, we have people who go through, intro class and then front end, and then they decide instead of applying for the apprenticeship, they want to go back and take the back end class. And that's fine too. We think that will make you a great developer. Then you'll be full stack.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, that was my next question, but you answered it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We do not recommend. Okay, if you become an apprentice, if you're like go through a front end program, become an apprentice, and you're a React developer with Encode the Dream Labs, we will ask you to wait a while before taking, say, the Ruby on Rails class, because we really want you, if you're working in React all the time, we really want you to solidify that knowledge, to improve on that for a certain period of time before going back and taking the, switching to a different language.
Okay, makes sense. Any other questions? You have the opportunity to ask Lori right now live. That's a great opportunity.
Again, I just put in the chat there, codethedream.org/classes. That's where all the information is. You can connect to the Apply Now button from there, or just to sign up to get information about when the application period will open, which again is very soon, just March 16th.
So let's give people, a couple of minutes. Okay, front end versus back end. Okay, and what is the question? Which one is better? Which one? Okay, but whatever you can elaborate on.
Sure. I think it's really up to the individual. In the intro class, as we get about halfway through the intro class, we have a whole workshop on front end versus back end, and where we have people who are sharing, what it's like to work in the front end, what it's like to work in the back end. I think it's really up to the individual. I think that's a very individual decision. You will get the chance to explore a little bit of those and talk to professional front end and back end developers, and you can see, are you more drawn to really those design choices and the way it looks on this, when you pull up that website, are you drawn to that? Maybe you're more of a front end person, versus are you really interested in how that data works behind it and how it's pulling, data from one piece to another? Okay, then maybe you're more interested in the back end. So I think that's a very individual choice, but it's something you will start exploring midway through the intro class. Yeah, that's a great question about strict attendance policies for live sessions. No, we don't have strict attendance. We do think the mentor sessions are incredibly valuable, and we do want you to participate, but maybe that's through, we are very aware of people's situations, especially, parents who have babies. So we're willing to work with you with, your situation. And there are other ways to participate, even if you're not always able to engage in the live session. We hope that there'll be enough different live sessions that you'll be able to find one or two that you're able to attend each week, but you should not apply because of that. You should definitely still apply, and we're willing to work with you with that situation. I think it'll be harder to find the time with the baby for your, because you really need that few hours of solid concentration, quiet concentration to be doing your coding. So that might be even harder than finding the time for the live session.
Another question from Elena.
In terms of getting a first job, what's more in demand, front or back end in the job market? For the job market question, it's tough. I'll say React is very in demand right now as a front end. For back end, the most in demand language is Python. We do not teach Python. That's not really for, that's more for like the data science and not as much for the, web development. So we don't teach Python. And that is one of the most in demand languages. But in terms of, it's just both are needed. Both front end and back end are both needed. But you'll have a chance to talk. I am not a developer myself. I work on our administrative and our organizational end, I'm not teaching code. But you will have a chance in our classes to talk to professional developers who can give you a much better, view of that question. But both front and back end are both in demand. Ruby on Rails, which has been our previous backend language and framework, is going down a little bit. That's one of the reasons we're pivoting to offer Node.js. However, still Ruby on Rails is still really, like most of a lot of the people that Svetlana and I know in common, Christina and Andre, they were working in Rails and got great jobs. So we are still seeing people get jobs in Rails. It's a very stable framework. It's there's a lot of very big companies that still use Ruby on Rails, even though it's going down in popularity in some places. It's still a very stable and popular framework. But yeah, we're moving to Node.js, which would make it full stack JavaScript between Node and React. And that's going to be a very popular framework overall. Question about watching videos of the live sessions. Usually those live mentor sessions are not recorded. We have been sort of experimenting with some different curricula, but one of our main curricula in the past has been Team Treehouse, which is a video-based platform. So those are videos that you would, depending on the class, that you would have access to, all the time to look at. But the purpose of those live mentor sessions are really for that interaction. It's really for that, where you have a chance to ask questions to the mentor. Now, I will say that is an idea that we have thought about, especially some of our kind of most highly rated mentors. We have thought about maybe recording some of those sessions and making them available, but so far we haven't done that. Some individual mentors might do that if they work with the same students each time, but it's not something that we are regularly doing as part of the program. Is the partnership available for everyone after graduating or only the most active? That is an excellent question, because with the partnership, I assume you mean the apprenticeship. It is not available for everyone. It is a limited number of spaces. Like I said, we usually only have 4 to 7 spots available in the apprenticeship after each class finishes, and that's each of the advanced classes. The intro class, you can't go into the apprenticeship after the intro class. You have to go on to one of the advanced classes first. Yeah, it is not for everyone. So we do have to make hard decisions sometimes. We do need to see that the students are at a certain level, ready to work on our projects. And so sure, we are looking at how much of the material you've mastered, how active you've been, but we're also pretty understanding of different people's situations. But just know, because we are a software development shop, also we need people who are ready to come in at a certain level. And the apprenticeship, like I said, it's still a learning opportunity. We're not expecting anyone to be a professional. We know you're still learning. It's most people's very first time they've ever been coding in a professional setting. But that said, there are certain expectations that we have, but I think that we do a pretty good job of laying out what those expectations are. Are there any organized study groups, tutoring sessions during the program? So the mentor sessions are basically organized study groups. That's basically what they are. It's not really like a class. It's like you're coming together with other students and the professional, mentor who's coming and can answer your questions, but it's more of a study group kind of situation. We also encourage students to organize their own groups, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sort of depends on the class. We had one class that was very organized themselves and had created an entire Discord channel or Discord server where they were meeting regularly, working through problems together, and really just that sort of took on a life of its own, which is great. Right, these are all really great questions.
Well, I haven't gotten any questions, and I ran out of mine. Maybe I give people 1 minute to think about it.
I will share my email here.
Yes, please. Yes.
If folks think of questions later, and I will also probably refer you to our class coordinator, Mary Alice Moore, who is just an amazing resource. And if you attend one of our live info sessions, which you've gotten most of the info here, but Mary Alice would also probably be on that live class information session that we open more to the public.
And Lori, I'm hoping it will be okay for you to send the recording of this session to everyone who was invited to this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll send it to you, Svetlana, and I'll let you send it to whoever you want. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Hope to see some applications.
Спасибо за то, что пришли. Всего хорошего. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great afternoon and weekend, everybody.
Bye.